this water.
And for whatever reason, Salem, you're really
Mhm.
digging in here, and that's up to you. But the bottom line, it's not going to get our signature, and until it's done right, and that's and the board is not going to go over the head of a certified lab. So again, we've given a whole bunch of time over the last month to this, and tonight we've voted, and
Okay.
and that is our vote.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to cut it off.
I appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you for your
Bye.
time as well. Thank you.
Okay. Let us get to our other business. I've got Colleen's timesheet. Oh, minutes. I did send some changes in. Herb or Lee, have you looked at them?
I also reviewed and talked to Colleen. So yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then that's done, Colleen. We've approved it,
Okay.
whatever changes Herb put in it, include, and we're set. Colleen's timesheet, a normal 70 hours. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
yes.
Me too. Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Next is payments is $1,710, $810 from Board of Health permits, $100 for licenses, $800 for Board of Health perk fees, and that's it. So $1,710. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Colleen, me too. So that's done. Next one
Okay.
is a purchasing request for $227 to, is it to Quinn? What is it?
Oh, yeah, Quill.
Quill. And it's for,
Quill office.
yeah, office supplies, black toner cartridge, self-stick notes, envelopes, 3-inch binder, 2-inch binders, sheet protectors, address labels for $227. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am too, Colleen, so that passes.
Okay. Okay.
The next one that I have is the temporary food license for Immaculate Heart of Mary. The date is June 12th. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am too, Colleen. So that's
Okay.
approved.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, and I do have a question on this, and that's Dollar General for tobacco permit. And the question I had, Colleen, do they have one now?
No.
And, okay, do you know if this exceeds the number of permits in our regulation?
I believe, yeah, no, I don't think so, because are there 8? Is it 8? This is like number 6.
Okay, so it's well under.
Yeah.
Herb and Lee,
Fine.
I am too.
Yes.
I don't,
That's,
okay, so that's all 3 of us
okay.
approved.
Okay, so I can just send them their permit. They don't need anything to be looked at in there beforehand or anything. I mean, they have their food permits. They already had an inspection by Lynn. But
Someone will end up having to inspect that. Maybe you could get in touch with the tobacco board, since this is a new permit. So
Yeah,
somebody
that's what I
ought to
was wondering.
review whether this is in compliance for how they've got it set up, what they're selling.
Yeah, they've got circled what they'll be selling, but yeah, I didn't know if somebody needed to go in there, so.
They're
They
not
do.
selling menthol or flavored spearmint. I assume they're not. They
Right.
haven't circled that, have they, Colleen?
No, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it said cigarettes and something else. There were just two things, so.
So maybe you can
But that-
find out when they're gonna be set up and have an inspection done by our coalition people.
Yeah.
Okay,
that
before
raises-
they get their permit.
Yeah, but Herb's point is a good one about that flavored stuff, which is attracting the younger age into this bad habit that should really be clearly avoided at all cost.
Yeah, they can't sell that, right, flavored.
No,
Right.
cannot.
Right, okay. Okay, yeah, I'll get in touch with the tobacco control.
I have this is a permit for replacement of septic tank and D-box at 149 Harris Street. Looks like it's just a straight replacement, fees been paid. Are we okay with that one?
I'm actually going tomorrow morning. I was just made aware that it was put in tonight. I'm, either way. I'm not sure if the board wants to wait or just go with it, and I'm going to be there in the morning. But whatever you guys
Well,
want to do.
this is just for the permit to do it.
Oh,
not
I'm
saying
sorry.
it's completed.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. All right.
I'm
I got
okay
you. I
with it.
was-
Herb, are you okay?
Yes.
Next one, same thing for 243 Taylor Street.
Yes.
Septic tank and D-box.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it too. Fee pay, you too, Herb?
Yes.
Okay. Next one is it looks like a tank. I'm trying to see, replace existing septic tank with a 1,500 gallon tank in the same and a new distribution box. Same place, it's Greg Everson with Neil Jackson reviewing it. Herb, Lee, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too, Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Next one is a well permit for 360 Bachelor Street. And I can't see Joseph Dombowski. And it looks like it's just a well permit. Lee, do you know anything about it? It's just a well.
He had a shallow point that dried out, and so this was he called me at work yesterday morning. We got a hold of Colleen, and she graciously sent me over the details of his SAS. I went there last night, and they're trying to get a company up there as quick as they can. They have a newborn in the house, so they're trying to get running water pretty quick.
So the permit's okay. We can grant the permit.
Absolutely. Yes.
Are you
Yep.
okay with it, Herb?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so that's set.
Okay, okay.
So now we move into, as we move into these Title Fives, I just had a question. I guess it doesn't, the way we're set up, all we do is take them in. And, but I noticed that like Neil's and I think more than half of them don't locate the well. Some of them locate the well at least with 100-foot arc, but I know Neil's definitely don't locate the well, and the document says the well's supposed to be located. So since we're not the people that, according to the state, decides whether this is a good document or not, I think what Herb's stand has been is our job is just to say we received it. Is that what you've been telling us and we've agreed, Herb?
That's what we have been operating on for the last year plus.
Yeah. So to skip through them, Lee, if you look, it's 53 Barton Street, 284 East State Street, 206 West Street, 79 South Street, 29 North Street, 55 East State Street, 502 East State Street, 173 Taylor Street. Are we going to, all of them passed except 555 East State Street, which failed?
Correct, yes.
Do we receive these all?
Let's receive them en masse.
So you see, me too. So that's done.
Okay.
We've got, actually, there are 3 different complaints now. We've got a complaint from Dave's, I guess, Natural Dave. I thought it was Dave's Natural, but Natural Dave, about a compost
Well,
pile
it might be.
with dead chickens. We've got another one with trash on Green Meadow Lane. I guess we do one at a time. On this one, this is definitely a farm-related thing, but does anyone want to just take a look at it and see, is this something that someone's throwing dead chickens in the guy's, literally the person's backyard?
I don't think that would be the case. They have chickens there because they have eggs for sale. So I doubt if someone is throwing chickens into their yard, but they may well be their own chickens.
But these were dead chickens, weren't they, that they were complaining about? Yeah, dead chickens. So my guess is someone's thrown it on a compost pile and a coyote or something's probably gotten into it, or a dog. One of us driving by ought to just take a look at it.
Okay,
The next one, Colleen, you sent out one that says on Green Meadow Lane, somebody's complaining that the trash hasn't picked up, and
Well,
lawn
one
is,
of those big containers that you fill it up and then they come back and take it away. And I guess it's been sitting there for a long time. So,
I guess if it's covered and not making a stink, it's, again, if someone drives by it and just looks, and having long grass is not, it's not in our zoning bylaws.
yeah.
The next one is on Forge Pond Road, that there's a horse grazing within 35 feet of a well.
He said it's across the street from his lot, that somebody is renting the land to somebody that has horses, and I said it's only 35 feet. I mean, it's across the street, and I don't know, that's what he said. It was across the street, but it was still only 35 feet. So,
By the way, he said that it's in some regulation, and Massachusetts safe drinking water regulation, and I could not find it.
I didn't find it either.
Well, I would state that I am not driving down Forge Pond Road to check.
Well, if someone looks at the trash bin, I'll try. Lee, are you driving any place near those at septic systems that you've been looking at, or?
Well, actually, tomorrow morning I'm going to be at 555 East State, which is up that way.
So maybe you could just go and look at,
And this is Forge Pond.
yeah,
I think it was
And if you look at the-
47 across the street.
What number, please, Colleen?
I think it was 47, but it was across the
47.
street from 47 was where the horse is. Yeah.
Okay.
and I am gonna be, most of that land out there is nice, well-dried, well-drained sands, deep sands. Now, certainly there's some wetland near there, but I'm gonna be hard pressed to say because someone's got a horse walking by the side of the road that it's a violation of anything. But, okay, so that's how we're gonna deal with that. Issues that we then have, live at the library, a letter to the Collaborative for Education, permission to host small outdoor programs for children this summer. I go back to what Herb said earlier. The regulations are changing and they just have to comply with the guidance. Herb and Lee, what do you think?
Exactly.
Yep, Herb was right then, he's right now.
I guess we could send just a quick note. In reality, I don't understand why the Board of Health has to even send this letter out, because we're just saying they have to follow the regulations. And they don't need our permission to follow the regulation. But I've got, for COVID issues, can we just talk a second about our 2 emergency rules that are left? One of them is the one that we said, and we did last August or thereabouts, saying that we were going to stop the sports in town. And the other was one that ensured, it was really requiring masks be worn while waiting and ordering food, whether inside or outside. There were 2 emergency regulations. They run until we say they don't run anymore. And is it time that we want to say, let's rescind those 2 regulations?
We should follow the state guidelines.
Lee, how do you think?
Yeah, it's changing in the right direction, I hope. But again, Herb is right on this. Whatever the state goes with is what we follow.
So I move that we rescind the regulations, and that will then revert to the state guidelines.
Second.
Herb and, okay, all in favor of rescinding both of these regulations?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so it passes unanimously. So they're done.
Okay.
Our 3 regulations are gone. So the next one, reopening town buildings with masks. And I got a call. Actually, I was talking to, we'll get to mosquitoes, but that's why I was talking to Chris Martin. And so Chris is intending to open the buildings on the 16th of June, once the emergency regulations are over. He did say he would be receptive to posting a sign if we would tell him what we were recommending that he do. I will say, and Colleen sent us a note saying that she would prefer, and some of the other people would prefer, at least in her building, to continue with masks. And what I did, so anticipating we'd talk about this, I sent Herb and Lee a note on vaccinations. And that says, and I looked at people in our town that are older than 20 years old, so adults in this town, and there are 4,800 of them, 4,856. Of those people, 3,200 something, or 67%, have at least one shot, and 53% are fully vaccinated. If you look at adults who are 50 years old and younger, there are fewer than 50% of those people that have had any shots. So when a person comes through that door at this point, the average said if they're any old adult, 2/3 have had one shot. 1/3 of those people won't have any shots. If they're young adults, 50-50 chance that that person's going to be in there without any vaccinations. What do we think we ought to be recommending?
I recommend a sign on the door that says, unless you are fully vaccinated, please wear a mask.
Lee, I absolutely support that. But Lee, what's
Yes.
your thought?
No,
Okay.
I totally agree.
So Colleen, could you let Chris know that the board is requesting that he put a sign up at each of the buildings saying, unless you're fully vaccinated, you're required to wear a mask in this building.
Okay,
Okay, that does that.
okay.
Do you want any words on there about distancing?
Well, Chris told me that he is going to continue to have the plexiglass shields in place. We could say that, we could go. I mean, what would you say? Maintain?
I would say put spots on the floor as exist in so many places and ask people to wait on those spots until they can move up.
So Colleen, you could ask Chris to install the marks for distancing.
Okay,
So the sign would say to wear the masks and maintain distancing.
Correct.
and maintain distancing, okay. So in his email to me, he said, I would like to have something from the board granting me this. So just that the board saying he can reopen the buildings June 16th, is that what he needs?
Yes, with the signs and the floor spots.
Okay.
I agree with that. Lee?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. Um, it's not here, but Colleen doesn't have the answer yet. I talked to Chris about our $5,000 for the mosquito control. Chris says it is not in the town meeting warrant articles. And he said the reason is that once the town says that they're joining by the town meeting consent, and the agreement is that we remain joined unless a town meeting rescinds the participation, then after that first $5,000, the state, there are no bills, so that the mosquito district does not bill us for this. We don't appropriate it, and that the state merely takes it out of the cherry sheet money. And so Colleen is trying to get in touch with Christopher to verify that that in fact is true.
That sounds fine. I think the important issue is to remain a member. That's the
Yeah.
critical issue.
Yeah, and that requires a town meeting approval to get out, and that is not on the warrant either. So,
That's just perfect.
right. Right. So the next item, I'm going to skip the shared services for a second. Oh, Zoom meetings, which is in here. There is, I don't know if Lee, if you and Herb are up to date. At this point, the governor has got legislation in to get on the open meeting law change that allows us to do the Zoom meetings. He has got legislation to continue that until September 1st, with also some other work to decide what Zoom is going to look like in the future after that. So our next meeting is June 6th. So that still falls under a Zoom meeting. I have asked Colleen to at least call up at the safety complex and see if we can look into booking rooms for alternate Tuesday, just to see if that's something we can do if we get surprised. I have a hard time believing that the governor's bill is not going to get passed, and this thing is going to fall apart on the 15th of June. The next item is Colleen, we're looking for a arbovirus coordinator and a backup coordinator. You have a form to fill out?
Yeah, right. They sent a form and I couldn't find any information. I did reach out to Jean also, and she wasn't sure. And I looked around, I couldn't find anything of how it was filled out last year and who did it. I mean, they want the contact information of who they're, I guess the emails are coming to the office, but who was in there for the coordinator and the backup in case they needed to get information to someone after hours. So there must have been 2 people last year, but I don't know who they were.
I'm sure it was one of them.
You think you were her?
I think I was, yes.
Okay.
So do you want to make Herb the guy again, and Colleen, you want to be the backup?
Yeah, I figured maybe that's the way it was. Maybe Jean was one and Herb was the other. I didn't know which, but yeah, I can do that, yeah.
That's
Herb,
fine.
are you okay with it? Lee, are you okay with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Okay,
so we'll do that. Now, shared services. Herb, you look like you did or we're gonna do some work on it. I did send in a list, but why don't we hear your report?
I've tried to contact Lisa Saunders in Chicopee. I've not heard back from her. She's the Board of Health person there. I talked to people in Ludlow. They were very cool. They wanted to know what our numbers were, thinking that they were, as a bigger town, going to have to support us. They wanted to know how many inspections do we do? What are all the services that we provide? They want them enumerated as they think about things. Their Board of Health coordinator, Andrea Crete, went so far as to say she had been involved in some cooperative issues in past years, and she had a very negative sense of that. So she didn't, she was not excited about it. The only person that seemed informed and positive was a Kelly Lamas, one of the Board of Health members, who agreed that shared services, in fact, was the direction that the state wanted to move. And in fact, the whole point of this was the health and welfare of the people in our communities. And that was the important issue. No one else seemed to get that. So another issue they were very concerned about was sustainability. And they made it very clear that as soon as the money ran out, they didn't want to be on the hook for supporting services in adjacent communities. So needless to say, it was not a very cooperative conversation, and I didn't come away with it feeling very positive. But I would ask Colleen to record for me all of the things that, say, Lynn does, all of the inspections that she does, that I do, that Dick does, that Lee does. So all of those things that are done.
And you could do that, go to the bills, should do that, I would say.
Pardon me?
mm-hmm.
If Colleen looks at our bills, that should be all detailed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be difficult to do. I think if we want to talk any further with Chicopee, they wanted that information. With Ludlow, sorry.
Ludlow.
And as I said, the Chicopee head of their board never has gotten back to me, but perhaps she will. So I don't have a very positive report to give to you all.
Well, after that, I did take, and I sent out to the three of you, I started to play with the draft. And I'm attempting now to stop calling that Herb's draft. I think it's the Board of Health's draft. And so I did look at the draft and I started to mark it up a little bit. And then I said, I'm going to try to make it more detailed on what the board does or expects to have done in trying to comply with what Sharon Hart asked. She said, I want a list of things that would get done. So if Lee and if Ashley or Colleen and Herb, if you can look at that list and add more things that you think this board has to do, then we should be at the spot that we could share that with Sharon Hart and said, this is what we think boards of health should be doing. I didn't get into anything associated with public housing. I have no idea whether other communities have the Board of Health involved with public housing.
The blueprint for public health excellence dated June 2019 enumerates all of these things in great detail. Unfortunately, it's 116 pages long, but everything that might be considered is discussed in there. So we can extract the blueprint, although I doubt if that's what Sharon really wants. See, unfortunately, this inability to sit down and talk to people is very inhibitory to try and put together something like this. And with Ludlow, there's not even a chance to look at people. You're just talking on the phone. So you have no feedback at all as you're discussing. None. So and as you all will remember, I made it very clear that I didn't consider this my draft. I considered it to be what the board was working on, and I wasn't trying to take ownership for anything. I was trying to put something down so that we could have a sensible discussion about doing something for the health and welfare of people in the community. And only Kelly Lamas and Ludlow seemed to get that. So, and I don't know whether Sharon Hart gets that or not. I've never had a real discussion with Sharon Hart.
Well, I'm thinking maybe I share that with Sharon, since that was what her request, and find out if that's what she's looking for. But at least she's a person that looks like that's in a position of authority and seems like she was receptive to moving forward in some way. So if you want, I'll get back in touch with Sharon and say, how do we do this? Move the next step in a whether it's face-to-face on Zoom or face-to-face. If we're all vaccinated, we certainly could meet someplace face-to-face if we wanted.
Has Sharon read the blueprint for public health excellence?
I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is that the meeting that you and I were at, she was also at. That's the only thing I can tell you.
I think unless people have looked at that blueprint, all of this is just beating our gums. Quite frankly, it lays out everything in detail. And I would have to tell you, I didn't read that blueprint until long after I wrote that draft. It's really a pretty extraordinary document, as you might expect. And it lays out in detail the enormous failings of public health throughout the state of Massachusetts, or the Commonwealth, sorry, of Massachusetts. And it's 351 separate boards of health, which is right away a total travesty. How you expect to get anything done? There's no way.
So maybe my next step with Sharon is to ask her if she's read that.
Yes.
Because I think you're right. If you don't have a common view of the desired future state, then you're not going anyplace. All you're doing is, boxing in a bag.
Well, I think it makes sense. It's a good place to start. It's unfortunately long and dense, but it starts off with an extraordinary comment. If I can find it, I don't know whether I can. Let's see whether I can. I don't want to belabor this any longer, but I'm going to try and find it. No. Yes, okay, let's see if I can read you the very first sentence of the executive summary. You don't have to go far into this thing.
As you're finding it, Herb, I think, as I recall, you could go about 8 pages into it and catch a really good gist of what this thing is.
You don't have to go far. Okay, here you are. The very first sentence. No other government agencies are as far-reaching and invisible as local public health departments. So there you are. Totally far-reaching, involved in every aspect of public health in the state, and they're invisible. So any rate, yeah, Dick, I would agree. I think it would be an excellent idea. I asked Sharon whether she's read it. If she hasn't, maybe she could find the time to take a look at it at least. And then maybe we can have an additional discussion.
Okay.
We could meet at the Yard Tavern and sit out on the patio.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yep. I will do that. And it's interesting, just on a little aside before we quit, I've been involved with the death of my brother-in-law in Rhode Island over the last several weeks. And he is in a life of public health pediatrician working for a community medical center. And in Rhode Island, they do not have a single local board of health. And in the mechanism for trying to get health to in his case, with children, underprivileged children in Providence, was Herculean. And it's still difficult, but that's the opposite of what we've got. And I think it's worse. But,
Well, I
But,
don't vote it's opposite. I think both are invisible. It's absolutely invisible, as you're saying in Rhode Island.
yeah,
And ours are impotent. Maybe rather than invisible, we'll make it impotent.
so, okay. What other things do we have for tonight?
Just a quick question, please. Do you remember with Kelly in Ludlow, was she simply a member? Was she the chair, or
No, I think Michael Lefevre, Lafever, is the chair. Kelly Lamas, who is from the discussion, she seemed very with it. And Adrian's DeSantis is the third member. And Andrea Crete, Crete, is the coordinator.
Okay. I'm just
Okay.
trying to, get a sense of, well, I mean, to me, it's encouraging that somebody is grasping the concept and going forward, even though it's 1 out of 3, but maybe she can chip away at this invisible wall they have set up there.
Well, I agree with you, Lee, and maybe it's more than 1 out of 3, but that was the only person who acknowledged. Maybe the other 2 feel similarly. She stated it. The other 2 were pretty mute.
Right. Yeah, I get you, but it's encouraging that someone is taking vocally the first step.
Yes, I agree with you.
It is if they would read the report, because the report in fact talks about the funding, they recognize that that's a big part of it. And part of the solution is dealing with that. So,
Sure.
okay, if that's the case, then we'll retire.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks. Thank you.